Welcome to the podcast. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Clem, and this is Turns Out We're Gay.
Welcome back to the podcast, guys. We hope you enjoyed last week's episode and are loving the season so far. We appreciate all of your messages. All of our new listeners, welcome. And thank you, everyone, for the support. Our community is truly one of the best. Your support really drives us to want to do more and bring more topics to the show and bring more amazing guests. We hope you loved last week's guest, and we hope that you're so excited for this week's guest. If you're following us on social media, then you would already know how excited we are for this week's episode. Our next guests on the podcast are known as one of Australia's most loved and followed lesbian couple. They come across your screen showing their true, authentic self with so much love and passion for sharing their life and support for the LGBTQIA+ community. They have built an incredible community of nearly 1 million followers. They are the owners of TANDA, known for working with foundations to raise funds for our community and mental health, and are just all-round legends. We are so excited to welcome to the show Taz and Alessia. We are so excited to have you guys here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we're so excited to be here.
Thank you for saying yes. Funny story. We were in Bali and I was like, I'm just going to shoot my shot and see. And Clem was like, yeah, okay, as the supportive girlfriend that she is. And I was like, we just don't know. You never know. And then when you guys responded, we had just landed back in Sydney and we were kind of tossing up whether to stay or go. And you guys really kind of made that impact of us being like, no, I think we should stay because we can meet with people like you and have great guests on the podcast. And yeah, anyway, you kind of...
Wow.
That's so sweet. Cute little story for you guys.
I wish we replied sooner. I feel like we took ages to reply, so sorry about that.
It didn't matter. Sarah was like you with your first fortnight dub. She was shaky. She was like, oh my God, look at this email. I'm like, what is it? Because we'd messaged, I think, a couple of weeks before, so it had just kind of gone out of the mind.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you talking about? Like, we haven't emailed anyone. Like, what could it be? And she was the exact same, like, look at this.
I was so excited. But yeah, it definitely changed like the conversations because the podcast is so important to us. And we were like, we can't be in Bali and then also try and have people on the podcast. And then you guys responded. We were like, this is a sign. We're staying.
Oh, you guys are so nice. And to be honest, the reason I take so long to respond is because I always listen to the potty first. So I went back and I was listening to the archives. And you guys kill it. So I was like, of course, we'd love to be a guest. So
No, we love that because you said in the email that you'd listen to some and it shows when people actually do sort of consume some of the content first and it meant a lot to us.
So super special episode for us today. I'm interested to hear what you listened to because we did give out a lot of info at the start.
I was just going to brush over that. I was like, interesting.
I wonder what you guys know about us. But we'll pretend like we don't know. I think it's fair. But I'm sure all of our listeners know who you are. But for the maybe one or two who don't, who are you? Where are you from? Kind of give a bit of an overview.
Yeah, so us as individuals, I guess, my name's Alessia, obviously, and I'm from Darwin originally, and I moved to Melbourne probably about 10 years ago. And I just did makeup artistry and a half journalism degree, actually, not even a full journalism degree for a little while. And then got into makeup artistry, worked for Mecca for a little while, and then met Taz.
hi, that's me. Yeah, we met like at the start of COVID.
Yeah.
So we met on a dating app and we just clicked straight away. And luckily we got to meet each other like in between like the lockdowns. You know how, I don't know, Melbourne had 2 sets.
Yeah.
So we got to meet each other, and then the second lockdown, we just spent it together the whole time, making TikToks pretty much, and had no idea of what was to come. We were just bored. So we were like...
We actually created our TikTok account before we were in a relationship.
I saw that in one of your videos.
I saw that video and I was like, we're talking about this on the potty for sure.
Very lesbian of us.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. I think we just thought it worked like the Instagram algorithm where like only if people follow you, they're going to see it.
Yeah.
So we're like, no one's going to see this.
Yeah. Next second, we were like 3,000 views, 10,000 views. And we're like, oh, people like watching us. That's cool.
That's so fun. And how was lockdown for you guys? Because that was during a phase where Melbourne was like, you can have one dedicated person in your household, and it was a bit like chaotic.
I will say COVID was one of the best times of my life. Like I had just moved in with 2 of my best friends and we were living in like this big, beautiful share house in Ascot Vale. And I had met Taz pretty much at the start of when I moved in. Then COVID happened. Taz basically moved in with us. So it was 4 of us in this house doing yoga at like 6 a.m., going for like half an hour's walk within our 5-kilometre radius, getting a coffee and then going home and just like relaxing for the rest of the day. We were very, very lucky to like have each other and our friendships in the house. And yeah, it was cute.
I remember this one story. It was like around your birthday actually, and there was a more serious lockdown coming in, and it was going to be like you can't even see your partner. The government was like tossing that up.
I do remember this.
And we had just met, so we weren't even ready to get into a relationship at that point, but we really liked each other. And I remember I was like crying because I didn't know how long it would be till I got to see you again, and it was your birthday on the weekend and I didn't want to miss your birthday, and it was so dramatic for no reason because they didn't announce that law, so we could still be together.
I don't know if you remember this, but basically because she was like so upset that we weren't going to be able to see each other and for my birthday, she ripped up these tiny pieces of paper, probably about 30 of them, wrote like a little note on it and then hid it all around the house for me to find.
So cute.
It was so cute.
Stop exposing me.
It was like, I love you, I miss you, like all these cute little things. And I was like, we're not even official yet, but I'll take it.
Oh my gosh.
I love how she says to us, like, we weren't ready to be official. I love you. I miss you. I'm crying that I can't see you.
It's giving mixed messages.
Oh my gosh. It's giving we're getting married, but not today.
In 3 days.
Oh my God. I love it. I love it. That's so awesome. I would agree. COVID, obviously not great.
Yes.
We don't stand
Yes.
COVID.
It was terrible.
But it did also, like, it was quite a good time for me personally. And I was able to just like, I think everyone got to take a step back really and just like actually figure themselves out. And we said on a recent podcast, the amount of people that came out during COVID was insane.
So many people came out, and I think like part of that is or contributed to why our page was so successful, because we were quite early on TikTok, and that was the platform where people were, I guess, finding LGBT representation, including us, and being like, oh, maybe I like women, maybe I like men, and discovering themselves within the content.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. And there was even people coming out with their own content being like, these girls, these lesbians, I swear I'm straight, but these lesbians on this app, the amount of time they are making me question things. Oh my gosh, I love it. You're doing 30 before 30. Clem's also turning 30.
Yep, January.
Love it.
I don't have any big plans.
Okay, yes.
I'm just living.
But
it has
we've
been a
had a
big year.
crazy
It
year,
has
to be
been a
fair.
big year.
It's been a great year for you to turn 30.
And you've still got time.
Yeah, exactly.
Still got time.
I'll just go past your list and I'll just do it a couple of weeks after.
Yeah.
Pick the good stuff.
Exactly.
See if you liked it or not, and then decide if we're going to go try it. How's that going?
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of planning on it at the moment, on just like what are some things that I really want to do that I'm just scared to do. So the list is pushing me out of my comfort zone. I just wanted to kind of mark this decade off with something special. I definitely don't think like life ends at 30 or whatever. Like, I believe the older I get, the better I get. Like, I've always had that belief, but it is scary. I don't know if you're feeling that about turning 30, but I'm just a little bit nervous.
I think after seeing your big palaver, now I'm scared. No, I think I'm one of 6 kids and things like that, so I've seen all my sisters sort of go through it and stuff.
Amazing.
So for me, and I think dating a cougar as well. She's 31, she's not far off. I think we saw in a video that you guys don't want kids, or at this stage you don't want kids, and we're the same. So I think for especially with that, it changes things a bit because I think that's the age a lot of people do have kids, and life doesn't end, but it significantly changes.
Yes.
And so with not wanting that, it doesn't really seem like as much of a milestone as I think as other people.
That makes sense. Yeah, totally. So we've got some stuff coming up that I won't reveal, but very nervous.
She's going to be terrified.
Yeah, Alessia's planning a lot of stuff as well that I don't know about. So
cool.
I kind of like know 50% of the list, and then there's parts that I don't know.
Yeah, lots of fun things to come.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh my gosh, if you planned like skydiving for me or something.
No.
I'd be like, babe, this has been really fun. We're done.
It's over. Yeah.
That's where I would have too much fun with it because I would be like, oh, I'm going to push it a little bit. Like I wouldn't go skydiving, but I'd probably go helicopter, which I know you would also hate. So I'd like push it a little bit and I'd have too much fun.
Like a romantic hot air balloon, I'd be like, I'm leaving. That's cute. Take someone else. Oh, that's so fun. As someone who is in their 30s, I can tell you.
Any advice?
It does get better.
Yeah, good.
No, I think 30s honestly has been some of the best time of my life.
Oh,
I
wow.
think you're just so like comfortable in who you are. I remember in my 20s, I was like constantly being like, who's Sarah? Like, who am I? What am I? It was probably because I was in a hetero relationship too. I was like, wow, this is weird. Like, what's going on here? But outside of like sexuality and going through that in my 20s, I think also I just didn't know what my purpose was. And coming into my 30s, I'm like, this is who I am. Either come along for the ride or don't, and that's totally fine. Like totally respect you. I think you just get a little bit more comfortable with that. And I think actually like in saying that though, we're starting to see that go down and into the 20s. Like people in their 20s now compared to 10 years ago are way more comfortable with just being who they are.
Yeah.
So
I feel like I'm borderlining it at the moment. I feel like I'm experiencing everything you just said, but also just coming off the back of it and just starting to re-find myself and define it and things like that as well. So it was really comforting to hear that.
Honestly, like I just, 20s was hard. 20s is hard. I think early 20s, like 20s to 25, you're kind of like, well, who do I align myself with? Who's my friends? Do I like yoga? Do I not like yoga? I don't like yoga. I'm okay with that now. I wasn't back then. Like, I don't know. I think you're just like constantly trying to keep up with everyone else around you. And then you go through this phase that can be lonely where you're like, well, I don't like any of that, but everyone else does, but I don't want to be a part of that. And then how do you change the mold? And that's hard. Like that is a really hard place to be in. And then coming out of that, you're just like, okay, well, I'm 30. Or it's not about being 30. It's just like, okay, well, this is just who I am. So.
Oh, I love that. That's so cool. I'm excited to turn 30 now.
Let's do it.
She's like, Sarah said I knew who I was, but I don't.
I get a message on your 30th birthday and be like, you were lying. Oh my God. When we were messaging backwards and forwards, you guys were saying that you did your 24-hour live. We actually jumped in for a little bit in the comments.
We weren't there for 24 hours. I have to admit, I can't lie.
We won't lie. But we did see some of it. I think we saw your hat getting taken away.
My heart broke.
Oh, well, that lasted like 10 seconds because she came walking out with another one.
I love it.
No, that was a lot of fun. We do a 24-hour live stream every year and we always like do it as a fundraiser event. And it just brings everyone together and it's honestly one of the most memorable parts of our year every year. So this year we worked with All Kind, which is a mental health charity for Gen Z. And it was just amazing, the whole stream.
It's just the best. Every time we do a 24-hour live stream, our community just get closer and closer because it's a good chance to, I guess, like band the community together for a cause that's bigger than all of us. And this year, it was for a youth mental health charity, All Kind. They provide like a online training so that and whoever does it can help their friends and family through a mental health crisis, which we feel like is so important. Like, why wouldn't you want to be able to support your friends and family in their most vulnerable times? And so it was a super important cause for us to, I guess, bring awareness to this year, but we actually raised funds for it last year. So we've worked with them for the last 2 years on our 24-hour live stream, but it's just been the best. And it's like so fulfilling and so wonderful. And we get to spend 24 hours with, you know, everyone in Team TANDA and it's all like fun and games, but also for like just a cause that's bigger than us. Yeah,
that's amazing. Are you live for 24 hours? Like
she can't comprehend it. She can't comprehend it.
Because I used to go live a lot last year. This year I don't so much because my time and energy is going more into this content. But when I'd be on live for like 4 hours, I'd be like, oh my God, okay. I'm like a bit emotionally drained from it, but also it's for a different purpose.
Yeah.
At the time, it was just me vibing to music.
No.
Totally different thing.
We totally know that feeling. When we first started live streaming back in end of 2020, I remember even after half an hour, it felt like the phone zapped the energy from my mind. And like it was like blurry whenever you got off the live stream, and I was like, whoa. But you slowly build up like stamina per hours. But basically how our 24-hour live stream works is as soon as we hit the go live button, we have to be on for 24 hours from that point.
Right.
Doesn't matter, camera on us, whatever we're doing. We kind of like to schedule it out. So for the 3 years prior, we created like a 24-hour live stream schedule, and it would include, you know, games, cooking, what platforms we'd be on at what time, and people could attend wherever. But this year was a little bit different. We like hired one of our best friends, Renee, who was a producer for Fifi Feather Nick Radio. And she is just the biggest ball of energy, the most incredible person you'll ever meet. And she produced it for us, and she had everything all in her mind, and we knew basically nothing.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was the best. And it was really good because I feel like for the 3 years prior, like us and our audience knew that we could do 24 hours, right? Like we were awake for 24 hours the entire time on camera doing whatever we decided to do. But I think this year it was like, wow, am I really going to make it through this? And I think that added a really interesting element for both us and our audience of like, are they going to make it? Yeah.
Yeah, so this year was like extra special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And that's what I love about your content actually, is that it is bigger than yourself. Like obviously you've got the fun stuff, you've got the you know, games that you play. I love your dress up one.
Oh
my gosh. I saw the one with the blue dress.
Oh no, that was our most recent one. I loved it. I loved it.
It was gorgeous.
Thank you.
But I love that you're doing that as like your own personal personalities and creativeness, but then you're almost doing it for like a much bigger cause. And I love that. That's what really draws me to your content.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. We're very lucky that our style of content is like anything to do with our relationship, we can post it on our couple's account.
Yeah.
And we don't take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah, that's something we've always done from the start.
So all that kind of content that you just see us, you know, being silly, I hope we always keep that because we're always like that just in our personal life. But I'm so glad that it can go beyond just making someone laugh.
Yeah.
And it can make people feel like really comfortable in themselves or like less alone.
Yeah.
Whatever the feeling is. I just love that we can do that for people. So that's really nice.
So the next 24-hour live will be next year now. Is that how it works?
More than likely, yeah. But we did have a lot of fun with this year's one. So we were kind of like, oh, we could get on for maybe 12 hours or 24 hours just to game. Like not necessarily have it be like a whole song and dance and like a whole show. But more like, oh yeah, like we could still do it again. I don't know.
Last year we did a subathon. Do you guys know what that is?
Yeah. Where people subscribe and...
Oh, yeah.
So the time keeps going up.
That's not where my head went. I was like, subathon, like in a submarine.
So for every subscription, it adds time to a clock.
Yeah, right.
And you can't get off the stream until the clock hits 0. So you don't know when you're getting off. And we stayed on for 53 hours.
Yeah, it was
Straight.
a long time.
So we were sleeping on stream for that one.
Oh my God.
Actually, one of our team members, the people that watch us, got the time tattooed on them.
Wow.
Because they just had the best time. Like we all
so
did.
good.
Yeah,
So
every time we're on for like we call it like a marathon live stream. So every time we do a marathon live stream, it just brings everyone together in a way that we can't even fathom.
Yeah.
That is so
That's so
cool.
awesome.
That's so cool. I think we would struggle
Oh, we
really
would.
hard.
It's hard.
We would.
We'd just be like zombies, just sitting there being like, sorry guys, I'm trying.
Literally, I think because we actually met doing like TikTok Live.
Oh, cool.
And like most of the time you're just sort of chatting with friends or whatever. But if either of us did it alone, Sarah's much better than me. But if I'm doing it alone, I'm sitting there, I'm like, what do you guys want to talk about? Like, what are we doing here kind of thing? So I would definitely struggle for sure.
Yeah, I know we're staying on this topic for too long. We'll move on in a second, but whenever I go live, it's either like really great, like queer people, we're having good conversation, or it's like 500 men just come in and are like,
my gosh.
are you single? How old are you? Where do you live? And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to end this live right now because this isn't my audience. I don't know how I got on this side of TikTok. I'm going to end it every single time.
It's one way or another.
Oh my gosh.
Literally. Luckily, my presentation seems to avoid that crowd.
Actually, what I end up doing is I go, yeah, so I have a girlfriend and I get Clem. And I'm like,
Yeah,
this
and
is
I
my
get roped in.
girlfriend. And then my views will be like 10. Every time. Oh, it's so funny.
I don't know why the straight men don't like me. It's weird.
Same. Don't worry.
Anyway, we'll move on from all of the live streaming and we'll go back to the start. So individually, did you guys have like a coming out moment? When did you figure it out? Sort of run us through your sort of story.
Mine was a lot earlier than Alessia's. I was about 15 years old, I would say. So I think that's like year 7, year 8. And I wouldn't say homophobic at the time, but I definitely did not enjoy the fact that I was interested in girls. So I was very like hard on myself and in denial about it for a long time. And my first girlfriend was just like at school. And I remember having that moment where we were on MSN.
Good old MSN.
Good old MSN.
Yeah. And just like chatting back and forward. And then she started flirting with me and I was like, I felt like my palms getting all sweaty and like getting butterflies. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? Like it was so weird. And then, it progressed and we ended up being together for like 4 years. So through that time, I was kind of figuring out, oh my God, like I don't even have a label for like who I am. And then I was not out publicly for a long time at school. So for like, I think it was 3 years, I was telling people I had a boyfriend called Caleb. Or something like that. I don't even remember the name. And I have like cards from my friends being like, happy 2 years to like Taz and Caleb.
No.
And like looking back on that now is so crazy. Like some of my best friends, I was too scared to tell.
Yeah.
But it is a scary time because you're just like, and I went to a Catholic school. So I was like, no one's going to want to be my friend if I tell them this. So I was actually outed while I was at school and my friends and my mum and dad and family found out all on the same day.
Oh wow, what a day.
It was not nice.
Oh my gosh.
And I actually, so weird. I remember Katy Perry, I Kissed a Girl was like #1 on the charts at the time. And I remember sitting in the car like at one point, front seat, and that song comes on the radio and my mum's driving and I'm just like, I felt so awkward in that moment and just uncomfortable in myself. And it took a long time for me to like kind of get comfy with it. But I'm very lucky that actually some of my friends at school still friends with now. And my parents are amazing. So it took some time. I did lose some friends, but it all happened for a reason and I learnt a lot. So my coming out story was a little bit like weird and long. I think people think of coming out as like one moment, but it's like many moments.
It is, 100%. And I can't even imagine like, actually, no, I kind of can. I think everyone for me found out on social media actually, which is even more awkward, but like that's a lot to take in one moment. Just have and at that age, like,
and I didn't even know like myself. I was like, I'm not a lesbian, and then people are calling me a lesbian. It just didn't really. I didn't know how to feel. There was so much shame in it, but then I had so much love for this girl, so it was so conflicting. So that was kind of my early story. But I found my people like through sport. So I played AFL growing up. And right around that time of, figuring out that I like girls, I was too old to play footy with the boys. So I had to transition over to women's. And because I was so uncomfortable about my sexuality, I was projecting that and being like, well, I don't want to play with like lesbians. Like how awful to say that, but like that's how I felt at the time. And my mum was like, don't be silly. Like I didn't raise you like that. Like,
oh, that's good.
And I started with the team and I just was like, oh my God, I love these people so much. And I see myself in them a lot too. And that's kind of where it started, where I started like accepting myself and that healing part of that journey started coming through. But it was a really difficult time.
I always get so sad when I hear her story. I'm like,
I could see as she was sort of saying the story, you were getting a bit emotional. That's crazy. So did you have much representation growing up of the queer sort of world?
No, none at all. I have a Maltese background, so like European kind of family, and I didn't know a single person that was gay. I don't recall seeing anyone on TV or in a movie that I watched that was gay either. I didn't even know there were other terms. I only knew gay. I didn't know lesbian, bisexual, anything like that. And we didn't have like any education at school, like sex education, because it was a Catholic school. So it was just all like kept undercover. So I think the first gay person I met was myself, which was like quite alarming. I was like, oh my God, what's happening?
Yeah.
I've never heard it said like that before, but it's so
First gay
good.
person I met was myself. I love that. Oh, that's so good.
But yeah, after I started footy, not to you know, the stereotype of like, you know, everyone, it's not true. There was many women that had husbands and, you know, but meeting a lot of women that were like, had been, you know, openly gay for their whole life, have like bring their kids to the game. It was like, oh my God, like I could still have a family. I could still get married. Like there was all these things that I was like now comforted by because I saw like women together.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Yeah,
I'm very thankful for like the footy community.
100%. I played union, so sevens, and it was the same sort of thing, but I was with a man at the time. I was with a man for 9 years and engaged and all of that, but I went through footy during that time, and I think I always say that it's when you see people that are just living their life so authentically and are normal people.
Yes.
It's like eye-opening, and I think the footy days, again, it wasn't the stereotype that everyone's gay. There was only a few in there, but it just sort of like you see a little bit more of yourself in each person, and it was much slower burn for me, but it was the same sort of concept, and it was such a welcoming environment.
That's so nice. A lot of people have that experience, and that makes me happy because there's not a lot of safe spaces like for queer people. So the fact that like sport can be that place is really nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Was it the same for you? Was it a similar experience?
No, my experience was very, very different to Taz. I actually didn't know that I liked women up until I was, I think, just turned 20 or 19 before 20. And I met a girl at a party and we became friends. And then we were texting constantly. I don't think I've ever texted someone so much in my life. And I was like, oh yeah, like we're best friends. And I was very like, I don't know, I was very loving with my friends. Like I'd call them pet names and we'd like hug and like whatever. And then all of a sudden I was obsessed with her. And I was like, okay. I was like kind of navigating those feelings, but I was still like, oh, you know, I love my friends. I'm obsessed with my friends. They're the best.
Yeah.
And then one night she came over for a taco party.
Please.
Whenever I say that, people are like, oh my God. But no, we actually just made taco.
The first time I heard you say
Whoa.
I heard you say this on TikTok once, and I was like listening, but I must have been like washing something, and all I heard was taco party, and I was like,
No.
I don't know. Yeah, but no, we actually just made like tacos for the night and drank red wine and whatever. And then all of a sudden, like, we were like flirting, and then one thing led to another, and like I was like, what is going on right now?
Yeah.
But also I was having the best time. I was like, this feels really nice. I feel great. And so I was very open with myself kind of from the get-go. I was like, if I like something, I'm going to explore it. I don't care. I had no real kind of judgment around myself, which was very freeing. Now that I hear other people's experience, it's definitely not always like that, but I'm really lucky that it was for me. And then we were in a 2.5-year relationship for a little while, for 2.5 years. And it was just the best. When I came out to my family, I was going to tell my mum at a lunch, like on a Sunday. I flew up to Darwin because that's where I'm originally from. And we were out the night before, me, my mum and my sister. And my mum looks over at me and she goes, oh, so, you know, are there any boys on the scene? And I look at my sister because I was going to tell her the following day, and I'm like, oh my God, like I've got to tell her now, because how weird if I say, no one's on the scene right now, and then tomorrow I'm telling her I'm a lesbian. Like, and I'm like, oh yeah, actually, like I've been seeing a girl. And she was like, what? And she had a lot of questions. Very like, I'm not even going to say the questions, but they were a little bit like intrusive, but it was fine. But yeah, she's been like my biggest support ever since. And like ever since she met Taz, she's in love with Taz. Like, she's like, I love her so much. She's the best. So my coming out experience was really, really good. It was very light. I never came out on social media with my ex, as in like I'd post her and that was it. But I never wrote anything like, hey, just letting everyone know I'm into girls. I just let people figure it out for themselves. Like I'm posting with my partner now. I love using the caption, you can put 2 and 2 together and think what you want. Like I didn't feel the need to come out in that formal way. But I didn't have any representation growing up, none whatsoever in Darwin. I went to a private Christian school from I think year 1 through to year 6. And I remember in year 2, my mum had a lesbian friend, the first lesbian I ever knew, and my mum was teaching me the terms. Or they were teaching me the terms, and then I went to school and I told my best friend, oh, lesbian means 2 girls like each other and gay means 2 guys like each other. And then I think the following day or the days that followed, her parents called the school and I was no longer allowed to see her, hang out with her, like nothing. And I got in trouble for like talking about it at school. And unbeknown to me, that was my first experience with like homophobia, even though I wasn't even a part of the community yet or knew that I was. And I think the lack of representation that I had growing up kind of played into the fact that I didn't come out for so long, because I didn't even think that liking women was an option. I was straight my whole life up until I was 19. I had boyfriends and yeah, like it was all well and good, but I was like you're cute, but like I don't love you. You know what I mean? Like I never felt like that. But then as soon as I was with women, I was like, this is sparklers and you know, rainbows and unicorns. I'm like, this is the best. But yeah, I think that played a massive part in like my coming out and also my sexuality discovery.
That's crazy. It's awesome that you were still so open after having such, like, for me, that's such a confronting sort of situation. So young as well.
Yeah.
But I think as well, having your mum sort of be so open and introducing a friend and stuff like that is amazing. And I think that's one thing for me anyway, and Sarah as well, like this podcast that's the main reason is representation for us was there was such a lack of it.
Yeah.
And it's so important for us to have more people out and about and proud and living their life authentically, because I think we're similar in the sense is that's how you sort of figure it out and accept yourself, because we went through, you know, homophobia within ourselves and all of that. And it's so cool to see couples like you guys, and you know, you laugh and say you do like the funny stuff, but you also do the really sort of purposeful stuff. But even just existing online and growing the community that you do, like it makes a big impact. And we both came out later in life. Sarah knew very early, I didn't. But I would see couples, and I saw you guys, you know, on TikTok just sort of scrolling, and I think it was probably in my phase where I'm sort of like, get off, like you know, I don't need to look at that, like I'm fine, like I don't know why I'm particularly interested in that, like just whatever. And like, but you just sort of get little glimpses of it, and it honestly changes people's lives. For sure.
It really does.
We've had people tell us that for like years they would like scroll past our content and like be like frustrated when they saw us. Like, why is the algorithm showing me like 2 girls? And then now they're like fully in the community and they're like, some of them aren't queer, but they were like, I must have just had a bit of internalized homophobia because something was like, oh, get off my page. But it's because they were so intrigued by our relationship as well. So I'm glad that we've stuck around long enough so people have like warmed to us.
No, for me it was definitely like, I know I'm gay, but I don't know why TikTok knows it already.
It's so true. And like we were saying earlier, is like TikTok and COVID has been that place where people are seeing, they've got a lot of access to things that, you know, are interesting to them. And TikTok being TikTok, they'll be like, no, you're interested in this. Like you think you're not, but you are 100% interested in this. But yeah, like that's one of the biggest reasons, like Clem said. That's why we did the podcast. And I guess like how important is it to you to fill that void that you guys didn't have coming out and growing up, and for the young women out there, or, you know, whoever is in the queer community that are going through that phase in year 8 or, you know, in primary school or high school, who are coming up against those challenges, how important is it to you guys to be filling that void?
Oh, it's so important. Like the thought of like people feeling the way that I felt at school, I just don't want that to happen. And like if we can play a small part in that by posting videos, like that's amazing. And I think you guys kind of said it before, just by existing, all of us, and posting online, it does impact people positively, because it's just seeing, like even straight couples just seeing like a queer relationship and being like, oh, they're kind of like us. Like a lot of people like feels alien when you don't like know of another culture or anything. And then once you get to know, it's like, we're all so similar. So I like the fact that anyone can follow us. Like you don't have to be queer. and it's just, you're just going to see two people that love each other.
Yeah.
You know, like that's as simple as it gets. So
That's cute.
That's
Oh,
so
yeah.
cute.
On the edge. You like encapsulated everything that I was feeling. Yeah, you did that really. Yeah.
You were like,
Love
I have
that.
Well
nothing
done.
else to
I was
say.
like, I have nothing else. Yeah, period.
thanks.
Full stop. I love that. No, but that is so true. And you're right. And I actually didn't even think of it that way. Like, regardless of the queer community, just putting it out there is, it's normal. It's life. We're just
Yeah.
normal people
Yep.
Yeah.
walking down the streets, going to the movies,
Literally.
trying on each other's clothes.
Yeah.
The best part of being queer.
Yeah. And like another thing that's been really cool for us is we're at a time in the world where it is acceptable to be publicly out. Like so many people came before us and lost their jobs or their lives just even like talking about it.
Yeah.
So we're very blessed and privileged to have that, you know, be born in this time where it's celebrated and people hit the follow button because we're together. But the cool part for us has been also working with brands who have never worked with queer people before. And like we do panels sometimes just explaining like queer people use all the same products that like, you know, straight people use. Like we still need to like get health insurance. We still like change our tire on our car, you know, like all these things that, why isn't there representation in the campaigns?
Yeah.
And I think it is slowly changing, and the fact that we can like be a part of that education process for the brands, like we're more than happy to do that because it is scary for them. They don't want to get it wrong.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
We don't want to get it wrong too. You know? So,
yeah.
but that's been a cool kind of, that's an unexpected part. When we started posting to social media, we never thought we would get paid to do this. So the fact it's progressed that this is our full-time job is just, it blows our mind every day.
Yeah.
Like, so we're very, very lucky.
That's amazing. Something that we've also been focusing on recently is self-expression. And I think both of us, since coming out, we've found ways to evolve in fashion and life and just being comfortable with wearing what we want to wear. Because self-expression can be through clothes, it could be through makeup, it could be through sports, it could literally be through anything. And that's something for me that was really important coming out. And Clem, I know that's been a huge thing for you coming out and self-expression. So I thought we'd maybe talk a little bit about your own self-expression and how that's evolved, not just in queerness, but in life, like as you've gotten older and being more comfortable in that.
So that's such a good question because I think it is a big part of the queer experience. I mean, it's a part of everyone's experience as you're kind of discovering yourself. It's like, who am I and how do I want to present to the world?
Yeah.
Growing up, I hated wearing dresses. I still do to this day.
Are you sure? Because I've seen some videos.
Multiple TikToks.
Tell me otherwise.
If someone's going to get a laugh out of it, it's fine. I'll take it. But I remember like going to like weddings or formals and I would just hate it. I'd feel so much anxiety because I knew I'd have to like get dressed up, do my hair. I still to this day, going to a big event, it makes me nervous because I just know that all the women in the room are going to be in a dress and high heels, and then I just don't feel comfortable to do that. And then the men's section when I go shopping is just way too big for me. Like I can't fit into anything or I don't connect with the clothes. So I still think there's like a gap in the market for like women that don't want to dress fully femme, but also don't want to just go to the men's section for like something hugely oversized. So I think clothes for me has always been that struggle where I've always felt uncomfortable. But I am, as I get older, I care less what other people think. But I do remember at school, every like photo day, I dreaded that day so much. And people knew. So like people would be like, today's the day Taz is going to wear a dress. So people would be like, oh, tomorrow you're wearing a dress. And I got to the point where I would just change for the photo and then like change back.
Yeah.
But I'm so lucky I had my parents' support that they let me wear anything I wanted. So like I never had them being like, oh, well, you should wear this. And like my mum was a dance teacher. She had a dance school. So you would think my mum would be like very much like pushing me like makeup and hair.
Yeah.
But she was always so open and still is. So I'm still figuring out my self-expression, but I always love being able to show my interests, and like DJing music was a big part of that for me. And always just like finding, it's like you were saying before, sometimes you find something you like, but there's an area of it that everyone's doing and you're like, oh, I don't really connect with that part. And for DJing, like I loved going out, I loved the music, but I was never into like the drugs or alcohol side of it, which is a massive part of the scene, especially like if you're DJing and doing a lot of late shifts. So I had to find a way that like worked for me, and it was like I would like sleep till like 1 a.m. and then go out, do my sets, and then come home and like work the next day. And I loved going out sober, felt it so empowering. But I think it was like for a long time, it was like, oh, so many people are doing this differently to me. Like, am I doing it right? But now I'm just like, no, I'm happy I did it in a way that felt right for me. So
I think a lot of my self-expression I kind of found through my makeup. I remember when I first moved to Melbourne was when I first started exploring with makeup, and I would sit at my desk, put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off, and I just absolutely loved it. And then I started exploring more creative looks when I started working for Mecca, because we would have like, I guess, a team look every weekend, and we'd have to like play around with different colors and different products and things like that. And so that's what kind of like drew me a little bit more creatively into makeup. And then I started exploring with gems and things like that. And I absolutely loved it. I feel like in terms of my fashion, I actually remember when I first realized that I was a lesbian. This is so silly. I bought my first pair of Docs. And my best friend hated them. She was like, they're so ugly. Like, how could you even wear them? But I loved them. She was like, this is the best thing ever. Like, and I was just playing around with like different styles and, you know, a little bit more mass, still very femme, like now that I look back on it, but like, you know, playing around. But no, I feel like I've definitely stepped into like my own personal style. I'm very comfortable in like the more feminine clothing and things like that. But I think I'm more exploring my individuality through, I guess, like arts and stuff like that, and also through our content. But mainly, like, I love doing pottery and like getting out of my head and exploring things like that. And you know, Taz has taken me running and just doing lots of different things to to like kind of explore who I am and how do I define myself and how is that changing and what do I love and what do I like doing, and I guess that all plays back, and then I feel like I discover who I am just like that.
It's interesting because part of self-expression is also like how you feel as well. And I think because I present a little bit more masculine than Alessia, people make assumptions, and you guys might face that too.
Yeah, we do.
And it's always like, oh, well, I like Alessia would cry more, or like, you know, and it's like,
I don't. Just kidding, I do. Me either.
So yeah, like people making just like stereotypes, I guess, assumptions about like your traits as well. And it's like, we are both masculine and feminine. And I really love that about you, like not just in your style, but like just that's why we work so well as well. So I think there's like a big assumption like that if someone dresses more mask, it's like, oh, they're the man, or
they're the dominant one. Oh my God, I hate it when people are like, oh, so who's the man in the relationship? And it's like, I'm a lesbian, there's no man. Like,
that's the whole
let's
point.
just make that clear.
Literally the whole point is that there's not a man involved. Yeah, it is something that we come up against, but people would really be surprised by our relationship. Like we're quite...
I'm a baby.
You are a big baby.
I'm such a baby.
I relate.
I will not touch a spider.
Yeah, that's like Taz.
Yeah.
She needs a cuddle every night.
100%.
She's a massive baby, but at the same time, when the role will switch, like it just
100%.
And we've talked about this a lot in the podcast, and I think we want to dedicate an episode to that around the stereotypes when it comes to lesbians, because I think a lot of people see it as butch, mask, femme, and we talked about this recently of like, but maybe there's like femme and femme, maybe there's mask and mask, maybe there's like, you know, there's so many different ways to be queer. I don't think you need to just be like, oh, well, if one person's wearing pants, the other one mustn't. Oh my gosh.
Totally.
I think I wear pants more than I don't. And they're mainly track pants.
No, 100%. I think as well, something that I struggle with, and I don't know if you sort of struggle with the same thing, but when I'm trying to be chivalrous or literally just have manners, people are like, oh, you're trying to be a man. Like I'm always that person that's going to open a door for anyone. Like I don't care if there's a man behind me. I don't care who it is. If it's a dog, like I will open a door. And like all that stuff that's like gentleman-like or whatever. And I'm like, I'm not trying to be a man. I'm just trying to be a good human.
Literally. I think like a lot of queer people we like kind of break the molds a lot because we just don't follow like that traditional like setup, which makes like our relationships really beautiful because it's like we're not putting each other in a box, which is nice.
And I feel like this is for anyone, whether they're queer or not. Like we shouldn't be defined by how we identify. Like it's always changing and it's always like becoming something different. We don't have to be defined by the fact that like I'm wearing a skirt, therefore I'm a feminine girl and I like makeup.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I like wearing pants and I'll get on the pottery wheel and get dirty, or like I'll go running.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to ever like heavily identify with anything because I know that I'm always going to change.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that you talk about makeup. 'Cause makeup for me, although I'm not very good at it, I'll be honest. And if you saw my makeup kit, you'd be like, did you get all of this from Woolies? And the answer is yes.
MCO is pretty good.
I know, right?
So
I
just
know,
putting that out there.
but I'm talking pre-MK. I'm talking like some of my stuff's probably 2 years old. But anyway, that's okay. But I really have loved the side of the makeup community on TikTok as well. And the self-expression, I feel like the queer community has also really gravitated towards that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are using makeup to like either hide, like kind of hide how they're feeling, or it's like to really show that like this is who I am and who I make a standpoint with it. And I love that. I love that side of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like out for people to see, you know, it's kind of like wearing clothing. Like you've got a little rainbow liner, maybe a little bit queer, or maybe not. I don't know. Like I just feel like anyone can play with anything.
It's just, I think another thing about makeup is people have assumptions about that. Like people often say to you, oh, you don't need to wear makeup. Like you're beautiful as you are. And she's like, but
That's
I don't.
not why I'm wearing it.
Yeah, like I just enjoy like putting it on. And I think the makeup community, just learning it through like being with you, it's for anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And TikTok has been really cool because I've seen a lot of like men play with makeup too, and I had never seen that before. Oh, well, drag queens and things like that, but never in that way. And so many talented people. So it's cool that the makeup community is like so open to anyone.
Yeah. The men are so good at it.
But do you know why? It's actually because they haven't had the same expectations put on them in the same way that women have. So they're more open to exploring their creativity and trying different things in comparison to women. So men makeup artists actually make sometimes better makeup artists because they're not afraid to try different things.
Yeah, right.
So interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I'm not very good at it. I never will be. And that's okay.
But you'll never stop trying.
I'll never stop trying.
No, of course, and you should never.
I'll try my very best, but you'll see a photo of me one day and be like, oh, Sarah. That's not how you do it. I love that you guys are working together, and, you know, Clem and I work together, and I think people don't understand how challenging that can be. And the biggest thing for us is a solid foundation first. And I wanted to chat to you about that. You know, what kind of work did you guys put in together to build that foundation before you built this empire that you've got now? I know you kind of built it before you were technically together, but let's skip past that and pretend like that's not there. But what's important to you, and what are the foundations that you think that you guys practice in your relationship that makes it work?
I think the foundation of our relationship actually comes down to us as individuals. So we like to really focus on how are we feeling and how are we showing up in the relationship, because anytime that we're feeling bad, that can, you know, that can trickle into the relationship. So if we're making sure that we're strong in ourselves, confident in ourselves, and doing the work on ourselves, every time we've done that, our relationship has blossomed in a completely new and different way. And so I think the foundation has grown off the fact that Taz and I have always been into, you know, like our self-development and working on ourselves and journaling and discovering who we are, and, you know, leaning into that when you're able to, like, you know, do that for yourself, you are able to show up in the relationship in a completely more authentic and loving and exciting way than if you were, you know, not feeling too good.
Yeah. We don't try and change each other. And I think that comes down to like just doing the work on ourselves. And if something is bothering us, like what she does, it comes back to like, what is that in me? Like, is it me being like that controlling side, like, oh, I want to do it my way, and like them working through that so I can be a better partner and a better person just in general. So that's why I love like this relationship, because it's just so like non-judgmental. I'm a better person than when I met you. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And the fact that we work together it does add another layer and it does make it more challenging because the lines become like blurry of like work and personal.
Yeah, I feel like work me is so much more harsher than like personal. So if we're not in the office and it's not like the scene is set and we're working and I show up as my work self, sometimes it's like a little bit abrupt and a little bit like more difficult to navigate. And it's like, whoa, like where is this conversation going? Like we'll just, you know, chill. But I think like when you are able to kind of like draw the line of like maybe the office is where we have these conversations and then like anything work discussed, it needs to be like super clear and like how we're showing up, whether it's as like Taz and Alessia in the business or Taz and Alessia in a relationship, and make sure that's like super defined.
Yeah, which is still working out, to be honest.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
A lot of our job is our Taz and Alessia account, which makes things even more confusing because it's not just you working together. It's like everything in our life is content. Like it could be content. Like if we go on a date, perfect content. But then at what point do we go on a date just for us? So it's like figuring that out, because I think at the start we were just like capturing everything. And now we have things that are just for us. And I really like that. And we're very honest with each other. Like we have been since the start, like super transparent, even if it hurts. And that has really helped us build that foundation, because if one of us is feeling distant from each other, like in the relationship, we just straight up say it. And then the other person like drops everything and is like, all right, we're going to spend time together.
Yeah, our communication has been really clear from the get-go, and I think that's added to it.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard being honest with your partner. Sometimes it's a sucky conversation.
I'm a bit too good at it sometimes.
Clem's very honest.
It's not really been hard for me.
No, I think it's really similar to us, and it's a relationship that we've not had before. But it's something that we get commented on a lot about, our honesty. And, you know, I think people might look at this and be like, oh, I'm sure it's just for media. And you've probably had those comments before of being like, is this what it's like? Really outside of this, but it really is. Like it really is like this honest, and communication is key in every element.
Totally. And I don't think you could actually run a business with your partner if you were showing up differently, like in your personal, because you wouldn't be able to show up so consistently if you're fighting all the time, for example. So like people did for a while question, because people always ask, oh, do you fight much? And we're like, no, not really. And then people are like, please, like you're just saying that. But I'm like, at one stage we were going live every single night.
Yeah, you can't fake that.
You can't fake it. Like when you're not getting along with each other, it shows. So I feel like it's nice to know that you can work with someone like in a nice way, because a lot of people are scared to work with family, friends or their partner, but there's so much like good to it. Like we get to experience all the highs together. You get all the lows like on a different level to what my friends or family might get.
And it's really nice. Like Taz is very good at reassuring me in any form of load that like we're having in terms of whether it's business or relationship. She's very reassuring, and like you wouldn't be able to get that if your co-founder is someone you've never really met before, or you don't have that relationship with. I have my own business outside of this. So this is the first business that we've come together with. We're actually working on something even bigger than this, which is really exciting, and we'll announce that soon, hopefully. But from doing that, it's been like a gradual thing of like, you got to be honest, and the highs and the lows. And I think when you're constantly making content, you're going to have a lot of highs and lows, and I don't think people quite realize that. You know, it's not just because online you like look happy all the time. It's not like the case. But I'm always interested in like business growth. It's something that I'm really passionate about, and just seeing like the empire that you guys have created is absolutely amazing. It's very nice. Thank you. And I call it an empire because it is. I love that, like I said before, it's bigger than yourselves, and I think that takes a lot of groundwork and a lot of foundation and a lot of communication and a lot of chats. So where is that going for you guys now? I was going to talk a little bit about TANDA, and, you know, is that part of like the growth for you guys? You know, what is that as well for the people that don't know? Because I think they might actually find that really useful. And then also, what is the growth from here? Yeah, so TANDA actually stands for Taz and Alessia, and this came about pretty early on in us posting on social media, because people were like, oh my God, what can we call this relationship? You know, like a ship name?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they were like, what are these girls' ship name going to be? And so I think, I can't remember how it came about, but it ended up being like TANDA, which stands for Taz and Alessia. Like you put it together.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I knew I knew I hadn't clicked
I
for
was
her
like,
yet.
hang on, where's
for
the
Sarah.
D going?
Yeah. So T and A, Taz and Alessia. And TANDA is essentially, it kind of became our community. So we call them Team TANDA because we always viewed the people who follow us not as fans, not as anything but a team. And that's always how it felt to us. So that's kind of how it came about.
Yeah. And then we like built an app in COVID because again, we were bored. We were locked down for like 2 years and we had that realization of there's so many people here that want to speak to each other too. It's not just about us, like, and we never wanted it to just be like us. We noticed people like having chats in the comments section, and we wanted a place to like bring everyone together. So that's why we built the app. It started as a Facebook group and everyone loved it. So that's why we like progressed to the app. And I think like the future like growth for us is like probably just expanding the app and making our community feel like super involved with our journey. And they're like so influential to like the content we put out. Like we ask members that are paid subscribers every month, we ask them about 5 to 6 questions where they get to like vote on what they want to see. So our content is obviously like coming from a place of what do we like, but if people in our community aren't vibing with something, we're going to switch it up. So I like that it's kind of hand in hand with the people that follow us because it feels collaborative. And I love all like the visionary, like future business development side of everything that we do. So that's kind of my bread and butter and the place where I really get to like go and dream. And right now the main focus is just being able to do this long term. So you know, this industry is hard to stay like in for a long period of time because there's always new people coming up. And so a big focus for us is just being like, can we make this work for us? Can we have a salary? You know, because for a long time we did this without paying ourselves. Still working out our super and all of that. Like, you know, like just we're really like at the first step. But I definitely see like this going like to such big places. We just got to take it one step at a time. And a lot of people are like, oh, why aren't you like, you know, monetizing with a product? You've nearly got 1 million followers on TikTok. Like you should be selling. And we're just like, why like rush to that? Like if we're not 100% sure on that product, why just invent something just, you know, for the sales? I totally get it if you feel called to it or if people are asking for it or whatever. But for us, we're just like learning about what we like still. So we don't feel like rushed to like do something like that yet. But I definitely think in the future, and we're getting closer to figuring out like what would make sense, not just for us as a product, but like for everyone else too. So definitely in the future, there'll be products and things like that. But we just love content. Like a lot
content
of
and community. Like
content.
I love community so much, and I feel like we were able to build, are still building like such a strong community via live streaming on TikTok. And I feel like we know at least 400 people by name and some of their stories and things like that. And building that community and fostering, you know, friendships between them has been super important to me because I feel like it's always scary when you're either young or, you know, you're finding yourself or you haven't found your people yet. That like when you do, I know how like warm that feels, and I want to be able to like give that to other people, and I know that Taz does as well. And so like I feel like the community is a huge part of what we do, and obviously we care about them on such a deep level that we don't want to just throw a product at them without thinking about it.
Totally. It's like people talk about the parasocial relationship a lot where people, you know so much about our life, but we don't know anything about theirs. And it's true in many ways, but there is a core group of people that we see as friends, you know, and the line is so blurred between that because we know so much about their life. We catch up with them daily, just virtually. And I think the world is moving to more of that digital space anyway. Like we met on a dating app, which 10 years ago or 15 years ago would have been like, oh,
cringe.
Which is so like normal now. So I think it's just like that evolution that digital spaces are going to become more like less taboo, I guess, because people kind of say it as, oh, why don't you go out with your friends? You know, like I can imagine like parents saying that to their kids.
Yeah.
But like they're just doing it gaming,
literally.
or they're on Roblox, or they're doing a book club and it's like online. So I think like it's moving to that space, and we kind of want to create those safe spaces online because the internet's a wild place. So having a happy place to go to is kind of nice.
Definitely.
We've met some of our like closest friends. I mean, we met each other on TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about cringe. That's cringe.
No, so many people have met their partners on
Yeah,
TikTok, I feel
we
like.
met each other on a live.
Yeah.
And I was
that's
like,
right.
that girl's hot. And then she gay panicked. It's a whole story.
Yeah.
But some of our closest friends we met on TikTok, and we did our first catch up with them at Mardi Gras, and it was wild.
Wow.
But we'd never met them before, and they've ended up being our closest friends.
Yeah,
Like,
literally. And I literally catch up with them every day online, you know, like whether it be on TikTok or most of the time it's on some sort of gaming device. And, you know, you get on the game and you're talking about, oh, there's someone over there to shoot or whatever. But half the time you're like, oh, and what'd you do today? And how was work? And how did that thing go? Like, we know each other's days ins and out kind of thing. And it's the closest sort of friendships I've had in terms of like really connecting personally and, you know, community and all of that. And I met them through a phone, and I've only met them in person 2-3 times.
See,
You know?
it's just changing a lot. And we've had people in our community that have had like near-death experiences and DM us personally and been like, you guys don't understand like how important you are. Like, you were the first person I wanted to tell about it. And like, I just want you to know that if anything does happen, like you guys and the community, Team TANDA, is like so important to me. I see them as family. And when we started getting messages like that, we were like, holy crap, like we didn't even realize this. And that was at the Facebook page back then.
That was back,
So, but I think a lot of people also don't realize it does take a lot of time building community and like thought. You can't just like send AI out to like do that for you. That's like, it's a very personal thing, and it takes like a lot of time and hours, but if you love it, it's so rewarding.
Yeah,
you know?
and I feel like there's a big difference between a community that's just like in a one-way chat that you're like sending messages to versus a community that you personally know by name, you know their story, you know like things about their life. And I feel like we're fostering that a community on like such a deeper level, and it's just so much more exciting. You have to put that effort in. You have to get to know the people in order to be able to call it like, you know, a community.
I can see both of your faces, but I can really see your face like light up when you talk about it.
It might be the lights,
I don't know. And the fact that we're face to face on.
I'll take credit for that one.
But I can literally see it. Like, there's like a lot of emotion behind it, and you're obviously very proud of it. And I think, you know, it is sad when you see someone wanting to build a community, but that is just a one-way chat. And you see a lot of it now. You know, there's a lot of there's a lot of that, you know, watch my content, I will reply to you, but I don't know you, and I'm happy with that. And I can see like how important it is to you. And that is one of the biggest reasons why I wanted you guys. It's why we wanted you guys to come on. It's not just my podcast. Sorry, babe.
I'm just an echo over here.
hey, and the lighting.
The lighting looks amazing. Like, you've just got it all going towards you right now. I'll take it, but that's one of the biggest things for us, because it's important that we're partnering with people that are just as passionate as we are about building that community. And I can just see it in both of you.
Thank you.
And how important it is to you. And I think our listeners should definitely go look at your content. If they're not already, I'd be very surprised if they're not. And if you're not, what is wrong with you? Where have you been? But yeah, and go check out TANDA. And because, you know, I would imagine it's not just about you guys, but they're meeting other queer people
100%.
or just people in general.
It's just like a supportive like group of friends, really. And we're very lucky that a lot of the like voices in the community, like the louder voices in there, are so open to like new people coming in. Like it's not cliquey at all.
They're very nurturing. They're wonderful, wonderful people. They're just the best. And like, even if you are new, you will always be welcomed with open arms, regardless of who's like there at the start.
Yeah. And the cool thing is it's like a range of ages too, which is really, usually like in communities, like everyone the same age, like we have like young people, like maybe 15, 13, like all the way, like maybe 40-ish that are like active. So, you know, it's really cool to like bring different generations together too, because we all learn so much off each other.
Yeah. I love that. That's so sweet. And that's the representation that they need that we didn't have at that age. Yeah. And you're working with Minus 18 and Polished Man. I wanted to just touch on that because we've actually had a mental health series happen recently. We've got one more episode to come out as we're filming this. But Minus 18 has been one that we've had at the top of our resources. So did you want to chat a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we actually worked with Minus 18 in our first year for the 24-hour live stream. So was that 3 years ago now? 4? Yeah, I think 4.
Yeah,
and
maybe 3.5.
Yeah, and we just connected with them because they do a lot for the like LGBT community, especially the younger ones. So we just connected, and it felt right to do that for the 24-hour fundraiser, and they trusted us with that. That was our first one. So we had no like proof of that it was going to work. They just fully backed us. And then we ended up working with Polished Man for the fundraiser the year after.
Yeah.
So, you know, ending domestic violence is super important. And unfortunately, the statistics in the LGBT community for queer couples is actually quite high for domestic violence, which is a lot of people are surprised. But yeah, I felt like that was a really important one. And we raised, I think it was over $5,000 for them, or 8.
It was
$8,000. And that wasn't just us, that was the community again. And then we recently worked with All Kind for the last 2 years and their Gen Z mental health. So it's been really cool to work with just, you know, charities that are kind of specialise in different areas, because we educate and learn so much when we do those fundraisers, because we want to make sure that we're, you know, talking about what they do in a clear way, I guess, and representing them in a way that they feel like proud as well. But it's just been amazing. Like every charity we've worked with, it's just, I said it before, but it's the best part of the year. Like it's just nice to know that you can make an impact in someone's life, even if you might never meet them, but like that money is going to go somewhere and like help someone. So that's really cool. And that's been kind of our experience. Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, guys. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on?
Nope. Just the lighting. We can just have another moment for that.
The lighting's killing it.
Yeah.
No, I did want to say thank you
done.
though. Like I said, you guys have made a big impact in a lot of people's lives. You know, I came across it when I was figuring myself out, and the community and the genuine sort of nature you guys have just sort of shines through.
Thank you so much. And the feeling is mutual. You guys are making a big impact, and don't underestimate, you know, what you're putting out there as well, because every time we all show up, it makes a difference. So thank you for having us on.
Yeah,
as
really
well.
appreciate it. This has been very fun.
Yeah, I'm so glad you guys have come on, and I hope we get to do it again soon.
Sure, absolutely.
More chits and chats, I say. At the end of every podcast, I say 1, 2, 3. We all say love you, bye. I don't know if you heard that at the end of our thing. It's like our little thing. So, but I say 1, 2, 3. Otherwise, it ends up being a really massive sensory overload because everyone goes at the wrong time. But finally, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. We love you guys, and go and check them out. I'll put their socials below. And 1, 2, 3. Love you. Bye.